The fairy lights twinkled overhead, casting a warm glow over the dimly lit restaurant. The air buzzed with laughter and chatter as guests mingled, celebrating Jessica's 28th birthday. I stood beside her, a proud smile plastered on my face, feeling like the luckiest man alive. We'd been together for 5 years, and tonight I was planning to pop the question. Thank you all for coming. Jessica's voice rang out, radiant in a shimmering emerald dress, her eyes sparkling with joy. I'm so happy to share this special day with you. The crowd cheered and clinked glasses. Happy birthday, Jessica. Happy birthday, beautiful, I murmured, squeezing her hand. Tonight's the night, right? She whispered, her eyes meeting mine for a fleeting moment. You know it, I grinned. Suddenly, the music stopped. All eyes turned towards Jessica, who stood on a small platform, a microphone in her hand. My heart skipped a beat. This was it, the moment I'd been waiting for. I have a surprise for everyone, Jessica announced, her voice trembling slightly. A hush fell over the room. The guests exchanged glances, their faces etched with confusion. I'm getting married. My smile faltered, a knot forming in my stomach. Married? Yes, Jessica continued, her eyes meeting mine for a fleeting moment to someone special. The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. I felt the blood drain from my face, my mind reeling in disbelief. This can't be happening. Not tonight. And I'm so happy to announce that the lucky man is… She paused, scanning the room with a triumphant smile. Mark, my rival Mark, stepped out from the crowd, a smug grin plastered on his face. He walked towards Jessica, his arm outstretched. She took it, her eyes shining with happiness. The world around me faded away. The laughter, the chatter, the music, all of it became a distant hum. I was drowning in a sea of shock and betrayal, my heart shattered into a million pieces. But then, something unexpected happened. A wave of anger washed over me, pushing aside the pain. I refused to be a victim. I won't let them win. I grabbed a champagne flute from a nearby table, the glass clinking in my hand. All eyes turned towards me, curiosity replacing the shock. May you have a long and happy marriage and many children, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I raised the glass in a toast, a sardonic smile playing on my lips. The crowd stared at me, bewildered. Jessica's face contorted in fury. Mark's smug grin faltered. And as for me, I continued, my voice ringing through the stunned silence, I think you'll just have to find someone else to marry. I scanned the room, my gaze landing on a familiar face. Maria, my childhood friend, and the woman I'd secretly harbored feelings for years. She stood there, her eyes wide with surprise, a hint of amusement playing on her lips. Maria, I said, taking a chance, extending my hand towards her. Care to join me for a dance? The room held its breath as Maria stared at me, a slow smile spreading across her face. This is my moment, my chance to rewrite my story, to turn heartbreak into triumph, and to find love in the most unexpected place. The room seemed to tilt, the cheerful chatter morphing into a monstrous buzz in my ears. Jessica, my Jessica, was glowing, radiant, but that glow wasn't for me. Mark, Shed declared, her voice ringing with an unfamiliar confidence, and my stomach lurched. Did she just… I muttered, but the words caught in my throat. My best friend Alex clapped me on the shoulder, a nervous laugh escaping him. Well, that's unexpected, eh? Unexpected was an understatement. It was like being hit by a truck driven by a clown, shocking, painful, and utterly absurd. Mark, of all the people, Mark, with his perfectly sculpted hair and that irritatingly self-assured smirk he always wore. Mark, who'd been a thorn in my side since we were kids, competing for everything, from the lead in the school play, which, for the record, I totally deserved, to Maria's attention in college, which, okay, he won fair and square, and now had stolen Jessica too. The guests erupted in confused applause, some even whooping, as if this were some grand romantic gesture. I felt a tap on my shoulder, and a concerned aunt shoved a glass of champagne in my hand. There, dear Shed whispered, her eyes filled with pity. Pity, as if I were a kicked puppy. I think I need something a bit stronger, I stammered, pushing past her towards the bar. The bartender, a burly guy named Tony, who'd seen his fair share of heartbreak, raised an eyebrow at me. Rough night, huh? He grunted, sliding a whiskey my way. You could say that, I managed, downing the drink in one gulp. Humiliation burned hotter than any anger. 5 years. 5 years of dates, of shared dreams, of meeting each other's families, of building a life together. And with a single sentence, a single name, Shed reduced it all to rubble. My mind was a whirlwind. How could I have been so blind? Were there signs I'd missed? That business trip Shed taken alone last month. Hey man, you okay? Alex's voice cut through my thoughts. Head followed me to the bar, his face etched with concern. Do I look okay? I retorted, gesturing vaguely at the happy couple who were now accepting congratulations. Look, Alex said, his voice low. Jessica's, well, she's not been herself lately. Maybe this is for the best. For the best? I scoffed. For her best, maybe. What about me? You'll find someone better, Alex assured me, clapping me on the back a little too hard. Someone who actually appreciates you. But his words offered little comfort. I felt like a fool, a laughingstock. Everyone watched me, whispering behind their hands, their pitying glances burning into my skin. But I couldn't just stand there, a statue of misery, while they basked in their treacherous happiness. No, I needed to do something, anything, to reclaim some semblance of control, of dignity. And then, an idea sparked in my mind, reckless and impulsive, yet strangely exhilarating. It was a long shot, a gamble, but in that moment, it felt like the only way to fight back, to turn the tables, to shock them as much as they'd shocked me. My eyes darted across the room, searching for her. Maria. She stood near the bar, a bemused smile playing on her lips as she observed the unfolding drama. Maria, with her quick wit and sharp intelligence, who always saw through Jessica's facade. Maria, who had challenged me, pushed me, and yes, maybe even secretly captivated me all these years. A surge of adrenaline coursed through me. This was it. My chance to rewrite the script, to take a leap of faith, to turn this disastrous night into something unexpected, something interesting. With a newfound resolve, I straightened my tie, plastered a confident smile on my face, and started walking towards Maria. I had a proposal to make. Maria raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow as I approached, a smirk playing on her lips. Well, she drawled, taking a sip of her martini. Look what the cat dragged in. Didn't expect to see you here. Alone. I forced a laugh, trying to project an air of nonchalance I certainly didn't feel. Funny running into you here, I said, leaning against the bar beside her. So what do you think of our little drama? Drama? Maria chuckled. Darling, this is practically Shakespearean. Betrayal, heartbreak, public humiliation, it's got it all. Except a happy ending, I muttered, glancing back at Jessica and Mark, who were now locked in a passionate embrace. Well, Maria said, her eyes twinkling mischievously, that depends on how you rewrite the script. Her words struck a chord. Rewriting the script. That's exactly what I intended to do. I took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage I could muster. Maria, I began, my voice surprisingly steady. I have a proposition for you. She leaned closer, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Oh, marry me. The words hung in the air, heavy with shock and disbelief. Maria's eyes widened, her jaw dropping slightly. For a moment, she was speechless. Marry you? She finally echoed, her voice barely a whisper. Are you serious? Never been more serious in my life, I replied, meeting her gaze with unwavering determination. A slow smile spread across her face, a mixture of amusement and intrigue. You're insane, she said, shaking her head. But I kind of like it. Before she could say another word, a gasp rippled through the room. The music had stopped again, and all eyes were on us. Whispers erupted like wildfire, spreading through the crowd like a contagious disease. Is he proposing to? But what about? The questions hung unanswered, the shock palpable. Some faces were etched with disapproval, others with amusement, and a few with outright fascination. Jessica, alerted by the commotion, turned towards us, her face contorting in fury. She stormed over, her heels clicking angrily against the marble floor. What do you think you're doing? She hissed, her voice laced with venom. What does it look like? I retorted, raising an eyebrow. In proposing. To her. Jessica scoffed, gesturing towards Maria with disdain. You're proposing to her? Yes, I said, my voice firm, and she seems to be considering it. Maria, enjoying the spectacle, simply smiled and raised her hand, showcasing a delicate silver ring on her finger. It's a lovely ring, she purred. Don't you think, Jessica? Jessica's face turned an interesting shade of purple. She sputtered, trying to form a coherent sentence, but words failed her. Mark, sensing his moment, stepped forward, his arm protectively around Jessica. Look, old man, he said, his voice dripping with condescension. We get it, you're hurt. But this is just pathetic. Pathetic, I chuckled. I think it's rather poetic justice, wouldn't you say? I turned back to Maria, ignoring the burning glares of Jessica and Mark. "So what do you say, Maria?" I asked, extending my hand towards her. "Care to take a chance on a new adventure?" The room held its breath, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Maria's eyes met mine, a mischievous glint in their depths. "Adventure, you say?" she murmured, a slow smile spreading across her face. "Well, I've always been a sucker for a good story." The room held its breath. Every clink of a glass, every whisper, every startled glance seemed to magnify in the tense silence. Maria, ever the picture of composure, stood with that playful smirk still dancing on her lips, her eyes locked on mine. I felt a bead of sweat trickle down my temple, the weight of the moment suddenly pressing down on me. Then Maria threw her head back and laughed, a rich, melodious sound that cut through the tension like a knife. "You," she said, her voice breathless with amusement, "are absolutely insane." A wave of relief washed over me. At least she wasn't disgusted. "But," she continued, her eyes twinkling mischievously, "I've always had a weakness for madmen." She reached out, her fingers brushing against mine as she took my hand. "I do believe a dance is in order, Mr. Richard." The room exhaled. A ripple of murmurs and gasps filled the air as we moved to the dance floor. I could feel the eyes of every guest burning into us, a mixture of curiosity, shock, and perhaps a touch of envy. Jessica, predictably, looked like she was about to spontaneously combust. The music started, a slow, romantic ballad that felt strangely ironic given the circumstances. As we swayed to the rhythm, I couldn't help but steal a glance at Maria. She was stunning, even more so up close. Her eyes, usually filled with playful sarcasm, now held a hint of vulnerability, a flicker of something deeper that sent a shiver down my spine. "So," she murmured, her voice barely audible above the music, "what happens now?" "Honestly," I confessed, "I have absolutely no idea. This wasn't exactly in my 5-year plan." Maria's laugh was like a melody. "Well, that's one way to spice things up, wouldn't you say?" She tilted her head, studying me. "Though I have to ask, why me? Why not you?" I countered, genuinely surprised. "You're smart, you're funny, I fumbled for the right words. "You're the most incredible woman I know." A blush crept onto Maria's cheeks, a rare sight that made my heart skip a beat. "Flattery will get you everywhere," she teased, but her eyes held a warmth that made my pulse quicken. "I'm serious," I insisted. "You've always been there, Maria, through thick and thin. You've seen me at my best and worst, and you never judged. And you think I'd make a good rebound wife?" she challenged, her voice laced with a hint of uncertainty. "Rebound?" I scoffed. "Maria, I've had feelings for you for years. Maybe even." I hesitated. "Maybe even since college." The music swelled, and for a moment, we were lost in each other's eyes, the rest of the world fading away. Then, Maria broke the spell with a soft laugh. "Well then," she said, a mischievous glint in her eyes, "we can't let this delicious drama go to waste, can we?" She leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "Tell you what, Romeo, let's ditch this party and go grab some real food. These mini quiche thingies are an insult to both quiche and mini things." And just like that, the tension evaporated. We snuck out of the restaurant, leaving behind the stunned guests and the fuming couple. As we walked down the moonlit street, a comfortable silence settled between us. It wasn't awkward, not even remotely. It felt right. We ended up at a cozy Italian bistro, tucked away on a quiet side street. The aroma of garlic and basil filled the air, and the soft chatter of patrons created a warm, inviting atmosphere. "This is much better," Maria declared, taking a deep breath. "No offense to your ex's taste, but that place was all glitz and no substance." "None taken," I chuckled. To be honest, I always found it a bit pretentious. We ordered a bottle of Chianti and a plate of spaghetti carbonara to share, the comfortable familiarity of the gesture easing any lingering awkwardness. So Maria began, twirling a forkful of pasta. "Tell me about this poetry you write." I felt a blush creep up my neck. "Oh, it's nothing serious," I mumbled, embarrassed. "Just a hobby." "Don't be so modest," Maria insisted. "I've always known you had a sensitive soul under that tough exterior." She leaned closer, her eyes sparkling. "Recite something for me." I hesitated, feeling a mix of apprehension and excitement. But something in Maria's encouraging gaze gave me the confidence to share a piece I'd written recently, a poem about heartbreak and hope. When I finished, a silence fell between us, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was a silence filled with understanding, a shared connection that transcended words. "That was beautiful," Maria finally whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "You have a real gift." We spent the rest of the evening lost in conversation, discovering shared passions and hidden depths. We talked about art, music, literature, and our dreams for the future. I learned about Maria's passion for empowering women through her art, and she learned about my secret desire to write a novel. By the time we were saying goodbye, a sense of excitement had replaced the initial shock and confusion. This unexpected turn of events had opened up a world of possibilities. Maybe, just maybe, this impulsive proposal wasn't so crazy after all. The next morning, I woke up to a barrage of messages and missed calls. My phone was buzzing with gossip, accusations, and even a few words of encouragement. My parents were horrified, Jessica's friends were outraged, and Alex, bless his soul, simply sent a meme of a dumpster fire with the caption mood. But amidst the chaos, one message stood out. It was from Maria. Last night was interesting, it read. Coffee tomorrow? I smiled, a genuine smile that reached my eyes. This was indeed a new beginning, a chance to rewrite my story, to defy expectations, and to explore a connection that had been simmering beneath the surface for years. And as I replied with an enthusiastic yes, I couldn't help but wonder what adventures awaited us. Our whirlwind romance had become the talk of the town. Every coffee shop, every bar, every awkward family gathering seemed to buzz with whispers of that couple. Jessica, predictably, was not handling it well. She called my mother, I groaned, relaying the latest update to Maria over a plate of takeout. Maria, ever nonchalant, simply raised an eyebrow. And, I continued, mimicking my mother's horrified tone, she told her I'd corrupted you, that you were too good for this kind of scandal. Maria burst out laughing. Corrupted me? Darling, I was corrupting you long before you ditched your princess at the altar. It was true. Maria, with her rebellious spirit and disdain for societal norms, had always been a breath of fresh air in my rather predictable life. She had encouraged me to question everything, to take risks, to embrace the unexpected. And now, here we were, living proof of her influence. But Jessica's antics didn't stop at phone calls. She had taken to social media, posting cryptic messages about betrayal and heartbreak, clearly aimed at me. Her friends, ever the loyal foot soldiers, piled on with comments about my lack of character and Maria's questionable morals. Ignore it, Maria advised, scrolling through the latest online drama with a smirk. She's just trying to get a reaction. Easier said than done. I wasn't used to being the subject of public scrutiny. My life had always been, well, boringly respectable. Now, I was the town's gossip, the guy who'd pulled off the ultimate revenge proposal. Even my own family was divided. My parents, bless their hearts, were cautiously supportive. We're happy for you, dear, my mom had said during a tense Sunday brunch, but are you sure this isn't just a rebound? Mom, I'd protested. It's been 6 months. And besides, I've always had feelings for Maria. My dad, ever the diplomat, simply nodded and said, well, as long as you're happy. My brother, however, was less diplomatic. Dude, you're making a huge mistake, had declared during a guy's night out. Maria's intense. You can't handle her. I can handle her just fine, I'd retorted, feeling a surge of protectiveness towards Maria. But his words stung. Was I truly capable of handling Maria? She was a force of nature, a whirlwind of passion and ambition. Was I strong enough to keep up? One evening, as we were curled up on the couch watching a movie, Maria turned to me, her expression serious. There's something you need to know, she said, her voice hesitant. My heart skipped a beat. Was this the end? Was she having doubts? I'm not who you think I am, she confessed, her eyes filled with tears. My mind raced. Was she married? Did she have a criminal record? Was she an alien from another planet? She stammered, her eyes filled with tears. I'm adopted. Relief washed over me. That was all? I burst out laughing, the tension dissolving. Maria, I said, pulling her into a hug, you could be a secret agent for all I care. It wouldn't change a thing. She laughed, a shaky sound that tugged at my heartstrings. I was so scared you wouldn't accept me. Maria, I said, taking her hand in mine, you are the most incredible woman I know. Your past doesn't change that. From that day on, our bond grew even stronger. We shared our deepest secrets, our vulnerabilities, and our hopes for the future. We were two souls who had found solace in each other, two hearts that beat in perfect harmony. But our journey wasn't without its challenges. Jessica's relentless attacks continued, and the disapproval of some of my family members lingered like a dark cloud. We faced doubts, insecurities, and the inevitable bumps along the road. Are you sure we're doing the right thing? I asked Maria one night after a particularly nasty encounter with Jessica at the grocery store. Maria, ever the pragmatist, simply shrugged. Does it feel right? I thought about it for a moment. Yes, I admitted. It feels more right than anything ever has. Then that's all that matters, she said, taking my hand in hers. And she was right. We were creating our own happiness, our own rules, our own unconventional love story. 1 year after our unexpected proposal, we stood at the altar, exchanging vows under the warm glow of the setting sun. It was a simple ceremony, filled with love, laughter, and the tears of joy. My brother, surprisingly, gave a heartfelt speech about how Maria had brought out the best in me. Even my parents had tears in their eyes, finally accepting that this was real, this was lasting. As we said I do, I knew that our journey together had just begun. We had faced unexpected twists and turns, but our love had only grown stronger. And as we embarked on this new chapter of our lives, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and anticipation. For I knew, without a doubt, that with Maria by my side, we could weather any storm. The honeymoon phase, as they say, eventually faded. Not in a bad way, but in the way that real life tends to nudge its way into even the most whirlwind romances. Bills needed paying, jobs demanded attention, and the initial thrill of defying expectations settled into something more comfortable, which I discovered was a whole new kind of wonderful. Movie night? I asked Maria one Friday evening, brandishing a DVD case with a cheesy grin. Maria, sprawled on the couch with a stack of art magazines, barely looked up. Ugh, can we just stay in? I'm exhausted. But I rented Space Pirate 7, Revenge of the Nebula. I whined, attempting my best puppy dog eyes. Maria finally cracked a smile. You're such a dork. You're dork, I corrected, flopping down beside her. And besides, we haven't had a proper date night in ages. It's all work, work, work. True, she conceded, sighing dramatically. But this new gallery opening is killing me. Those art critics are ruthless. While your husband is about to die of boredom, I retorted, throwing a cushion at her playfully. Okay, you win, she laughed, catching the cushion. How about we compromise? Movie night in, but with homemade popcorn and face masks. Deal, I agreed, already picturing us in ridiculous green face masks, arguing over who got to be the space pirate captain. And that's how we navigated the transition from impulsive newlyweds to a genuinely happy couple. We learned to balance our individual ambitions with our shared life, to carve out time for romance amidst the chaos of everyday existence. We discovered that love wasn't just about grand gestures and defying expectations. It was also about the quiet moments, the shared jokes, the comfortable silences. It was about knowing when to push and when to simply be present. Of course, there were still challenges. Jessica, bless her persistent soul, still popped up occasionally, usually with a new boyfriend in tow, and a thinly veiled attempt to make me jealous. Oh, look who it is, Shed Purr, sidling up to us at a local bar one evening. Fancy meeting you here. And who's this? Shed asked, feigning ignorance about Maria. You know perfectly well who this is, Jessica, I'd reply, rolling my eyes. Now, if you'll excuse us— Oh, don't mind me, Shed say, clinging to her latest conquest's arm. Just wanted to say hello. You two seem cozy. Maria, ever the queen of nonchalance, would simply raise an eyebrow and take a sip of her drink. We are, Shed replied coolly. Isn't that right, darling? I'd squeeze her hand, a silent message of solidarity. Jessica, defeated, would usually flounce off in search of a more receptive audience. My family, though mostly accepting of Maria by now, still had moments of awkwardness, as if they couldn't quite reconcile the Maria they'd known for years with the woman who'd become my wife. So Maria, my aunt would ask during a family dinner, how's the art thing going? It's going very well, thank you. Maria would reply politely, hiding her amusement at the thinly veiled skepticism in my aunt's voice. Later, Maria would recount the conversation to me, mimicking my aunt's tone perfectly. The art thing, like it's some bizarre hobby I picked up. We'd collapse in laughter, the absurdity of the situation easing any lingering tension. But through it all, we held on to each other. We learned to communicate openly, to compromise, and to forgive. We grew stronger, more resilient, and more in love. You know, Maria said one night, as we were reminiscing about our crazy journey, I never thought I'd end up married. Me neither, I admitted, especially not like this. But it's perfect, she said, snuggling closer. Perfectly imperfect. And she was right. Our relationship wasn't conventional, it wasn't predictable, but it was ours. We had built it on a foundation of trust, respect, and a shared love of adventure. Looking back, I realized that Jessica's betrayal, though painful at the time, had been a blessing in disguise. It had freed me from a relationship that wasn't right, and it had opened my eyes to the incredible woman who was meant to be my partner. You know what the best part of all this is? I asked Maria one day, as we were lounging on the deck, enjoying the warm summer breeze. She hummed, looking up from her book, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Besides getting to spend every day with the most charming man in the world? Besides that, I chuckled. It's getting to prove your brother wrong every single day. Maria's brother, ever the protective older sibling, had been the most vocal opponent of our relationship. Had warned Maria that I was too boring, too conventional, not her type. He's coming around, Maria chuckled. He actually asked me for relationship advice the other day. I burst out laughing. Seriously? Yep, she said, grinning. Apparently, your bad influence is rubbing off on him. We laughed together, the sound filling our cozy living room. It was a sound of contentment, of shared joy, of a love that had defied expectations and blossomed into something truly special. And as I looked at Maria, my beautiful, intelligent, and utterly unpredictable wife, I knew that I wouldn't change a single thing about our crazy journey. For it had led me to the greatest adventure of all. A life filled with love, laughter, and the constant reminder that sometimes the best things in life happen when you least expect them.